Hi everyone, thanks for joining our Cartesi and Crypto.com live video AMA today. I'm Imana Madhya and I'm your host for today. Launched in 2018, Cartesi is a layer 2 infrastructure for blockchains. Cartesi is revolutionizing programming for developers by allowing them to use software stacks that they are already familiar with to build and program smart contracts. Cartesi allows for scalability and has low transaction costs. Most notably, Cartesi is blockchain agnostic and will run on most chains. Currently, it supports Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Matic or Polygon. Cartesi is unique in the sense that it allows decentralized applications to be run on Linux in a way that's verifiable by the blockchain. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Erick de Moura, the founder and CEO of Cartesi. Hi, Erick. Thanks so much for joining us today. Would you mind starting off with an introduction of yourself and a little bit about Cartesi? Erick, I think you're on mute, so we can't hear you, but. Just check the mics. All good. Give him a minute. Nope. Still nothing. All right, we'll just have to wait just a second until we get these technical difficulties ironed out. So yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
Cool. Welcome back.
Mitch. Nice to be here. Inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great having you.
Asked me about my background. So I'll start by telling a little bit about myself. Then I can talk a little bit about Cartesi. So first of all, I'm a software engineer. I've been working in the software industry for more than 20 years now. Working many different verticals in my life, doing all kinds of development and management and leading teams. In the last years, I had my own software development agency working for different companies around the world. I was a world traveler, spending time in different countries in Europe and Asia in the end. And at some point, I started to get, honestly, a little bit bored. I want to have something more meaningful. I wanted to have some kind of software project that would resonate with my soul. And I was starting to fall in love with crypto, right? And about that time, an old friend of mine who went to school with me in UCLA many years ago, he's a math professor. He was developing this technology with his colleague at the Math Institute in Brazil. And he gave me a call, said, look, Erick, we are developing this blockchain tech here. We are academics. We need someone to turn this cool idea into a product, into a company. Can you help us? All right. So that's how it started.
Very cool. And can you give us just a short, brief introduction about Cartesi? We'll have a ton of questions for you about the project, but just a quick introduction.
So Cartesi aims to be. It is a layer 2 technology. We're developing different pieces of layer 2 technology in a way to bring the flavor of mainstream programming to blockchain. So we know a lot about the scalability issues of blockchains that has been a major hindrance to the industry. And the other aspect that's normally neglected about these barriers to blockchain adoption is how easy it is for people to code, to develop applications, decentralized applications using blockchains.
Right.
So we created this infrastructure that not only solves the scalability issues, making computation highly scalable on top of blockchains while preserving their security guarantees, while we also provide the kind of environment that mainstream developers are already used to. So instead of they developing their smart contracts and the apps using Solidity, let's say, they could use mainstream software components on a real operating system.
Nice. Interesting. So can you tell me a little bit more about the beginnings of the Cartesi project from back in the days? Where did the idea come from and how did you get started? I know you mentioned a little bit about you want to build something meaningful, but just get into
let's go deeper into that then, because I like that story a lot. So he gives me a call, and I'm at that time here in Taiwan, where I'm living now, and I was actually starting or thinking about some tech projects to start with some partners that were living here in Taiwan. And he gave me this call, and he had this idea he was developing with his colleague at IMPA, this math institute in Rio de Janeiro. And the original idea was to build a decentralized marketplace for AI training. And the first time they told me the story, I was not very excited about it. But then, as we kept talking more and more and more, we started to discover that the technology they were building for AI was actually much more generic. It could be used to solve basic infrastructure problems of blockchain tech. And then I started to get more and more excited, and then things started to happen.
Nice. Cool. So could you explain what Cartesi Core is, what the technology behind it is, and how it's able to address the computational limitations of blockchains?
Oh, okay, so the fundamental piece of Cartesi, we call Cartesi Core, starts from a VM that we have developed, right? Just like we have the EVM for Ethereum, and we have different virtual machines for different blockchains. We also designed and developed our own VM, virtual machine. This VM has to have basically the same properties that blockchain VMs have. They have to be deterministic, self-contained, and deal with cryptographic hashes and do this kind of cryptographic magic. But the VM that we developed was able to run a real operating system, unlike other VMs that's from other blockchain projects, right? And the reason why our VM could launch a Linux OS was because we decided to emulate a real hardware instruction set, RISC-V, right? And we could actually run Linux on top of this emulator. So this is one piece of Cartesi Core. The other piece of Cartesi Core is that we depart from global consensus to local consensus, right? And as we do this move from global consensus to local consensus, we can make things perform much, much, much better, right? Because in the case of Ethereum and traditional blockchains that enable smart contracts, every single full node has to validate every single transaction and computation and replicate data that's people send to the blockchain. So it tends to be a waste, right? When you go to local consensus, you are saying that only some people, some interested parties need to actually validate computation in order to satisfy their needs. So by doing this move, we're able to scale a lot, especially computation, right? And then what Cartesi Core does is that it kind of turns the blockchain into a kind of a justice system. So we assume that things will go well on layer 2, on Cartesi, and if something fishy happens, let's say some node misbehaves, someone is trying to cheat, then honest nodes can start a dispute resolution on chain. And as long as you have one honest node, this honest node is always able to enforce the correct result on chain.
Okay.
Right. So and that's a very, very, very cheap process compared to the original computation running on the blockchain.
Interesting. So this efficiency is done through sharding, or is it directed? Is this like graphs, or how exactly are you doing it from a more technical level?
The dispute resolution?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's based on an algorithm called the verification game. It's an algorithm that's used by other projects. It was used by TrueBit. It's also used by Arbitrum. Basically, it allows for these VMs to run massive computations off chain. And if there is a need for disputes, if someone is claiming something, someone else claiming something else, then the blockchain is used as a mediator, and only a negligible piece of the original computation actually needs to be run on chain in order for the blockchain to decide who is wrong and who is right. So you actually manage to have like 1,000 or tens of thousand folds more computation off chain than on chain, while preserving security.
Huh, interesting. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about the Descartes rollups?
Yeah. So Cartesi core was this initial piece that we specified in our white paper. We developed by the middle of last year. We deployed what we call the Cartesi, which is a computational oracle. And basically, it allows people smart contracts to specify heavy computation to be run off chain with the properties that I explained before. The Cartesi rollups go one step further, and it implements optimistic rollups, which is a protocol that other second layer projects are also implementing, like Optimism, like Arbitrum, like ZK Sync. In case of ZK Sync, it's a different kind of rollups. But in the case of Cartesi optimistic rollups, what happens is that smart contracts run on the second layer. They are the computations and transactions are validated by the nodes on the second layer, while all transaction input data are sent to the blockchain. Right. So rollups is a very interesting technique that preserves strong security guarantees, and that's the reason why the Ethereum Foundation ended up adopting rollups as a preferred solution to, let's say, Plasma and sidechains for applications that deal with huge amounts of money, for instance, because it's a more secure approach.
Interesting.
So Cartesi rollups use this approach. However, we go one step further, because it's not only about us providing scalability, it's also about us providing on layer 2 the runtime environment, the operating system that mainstream software developers that don't know how to use Solidity can come and implement decentralized applications.
Very cool. Cartesi doesn't have a reputation protocol or a TEE, a trusted execution environment. So can you explain how you guarantee security and honest behavior for Cartesi users?
Right. So TEE is a method in which hardware is able to run computation in a secure enclave, preserving privacy. It has some very interesting properties. However, it has some problems, right? First of all, you would have to trust the hardware manufacturer, right? And when you develop blockchain tech, when you're talking about Ethereum and blockchains in which you're dealing with anonymous participants in an unpermissioned environment that people don't want to trust anyone in particular, you don't want to trust anyone, not even the hardware manufacturer. So in the case of TEE, you would have to trust a company in the end of the day. Also, you have some famous kind of side chain attacks that became very well known in the last years on these technologies like SGX and other enclave technologies that also make things a little bit riskier for decentralized applications to rely on. So we take a different approach, right? We take an approach that's more similar to blockchain projects. What they do, we allow people to run things in a decentralized environment, and honest nodes can always prove and enforce right results on the blockchain, right? You don't need to use any kind of reputation system as long as you have one single node participating in the smart contract that's honest and vigilant. That honest node can always enforce correct result on chain, and thus we don't have to rely on reputation. Reputation is a complicated issue, right? Because there is this very well-known kind of civil attacks that haunt blockchain people. That one person can pretend to be 100. They can replicate their own accounts 100 times and manipulate the reputation system in their favor, right? So we also don't want to use reputation for that reason.
Okay, interesting. So the one honest node is then responsible for the integrity of the security. Yeah. Okay. So Noether is Cartesi's sidechain, which is designed for temporary data availability. Could you go into more detail about Noether?
Sure. So you can think of Cartesi core. Let me go back a little bit because I want to pass an important concept that, we want to make. The original vision of Ethereum was to make this kind of decentralized computer, this kind of world decentralized computer. But as a computer, mainly because of scalability issues, we are very far from this dream of having this world decentralized computer, because this computer performs very, very badly. Now, in order for you to have something that looks more like a computer, it's great that you can scale computation a lot, that you can run complex codes like we do on Cartesi rollups. But still, on Cartesi rollups and other rollup solution, people need to send all data to the blockchain. And also, that also imposes some limits on the amount of data that can be sent to these applications, right? So putting data on chain is very expensive. Even with the compression techniques, aggregators, sequencers that you have in rollup solutions, there is also, at some point you start to get to a limit. And if you want to make something more like a computer that people are used to in the outside world, we don't only want to solve computation, give this friendly environment for people to develop, we also want to give them, let's say, like more memory resources, allow them to deal with much more data, right? And that's the idea of Noether. Noether is the complement of the cart rollups. The cart rollups expands on computation, gives a kind of real computer. Noether is a side chain that allows people to use data in these applications in a much more cost-efficient way. Noether is a side chain that is optimized for temporary storage of data. So unlike Ethereum, for instance, that wants to send data to the blockchain, data is there forever, and it's a burden because now all full nodes and archive nodes have to keep this data there forever. In Noether, we are building from scratch something that's, applications can define how long each piece of data needs to stay on the blockchain, and then they are released later on. Right. So it tends to be more efficient.
Interesting. What is the Validator marketplace feature, and how will this help the Cartesi ecosystem?
For that, I'd like to use another analogy, right? So when you think about cloud computing, you think about services like Amazon, AWS, Google Clouds. And this was a revolution in computation in the IT industry in the last decades, right? It allowed for an explosion of applications to exist. So think about think of this Validator marketplace as a kind of AWS infrastructure for Cartesi. So when a developer creates their application, they want to have an infrastructure to launch their application on layer 2. So they can go to this marketplace and select a few nodes of their choice, 5, 6, 7 nodes that they like. Maybe they are run by institutions they like, right? And then they pay these validators to do work for them, meaning that they will process transactions layer 2, they will validate in computation, and they will also participate in dispute resolutions if there are validators that are malicious. So, and as long as you have one node that is honest and active, this single node is always able to enforce correct results on layer one. So the marketplace for Validator is this kind of bootstrapping layer infrastructure that allows the app developers to launch their application. That being said, Cartesi Rollups is going to be a fully decentralized solution, and other nodes of interested parties, like if I'm a user of an application, I also want to validate that the app, I can also go and plug my own validator on top of these already existing validators of the marketplace. But the marketplace is just a starting point.
Fascinating. So Cartesi develops a lot of products, which is advantageous when it meets the needs of its users. Does developing a lot of products make management difficult? And how do you ensure the quality of all Cartesi products?
Iman, our life is not easy, right? It's a lot of work.
That's not what you're working towards.
Our luck is that we love what we do a lot. We're very passionate about this. But the reason why we cannot, we have to develop all these things at the same time, Noether, Cartesi Rollups, the Validator marketplace, is because we have to provide the whole computer to people, right? We want to provide the whole thing. So we have developed all these pieces. Because at the end of the day, we want to make it very easy for mainstream developers to adopt decentralization and blockchain tech. And unless we make things very convenient to people, and unless we provide all the pieces they need, we're not gonna succeed. So we need to build them all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's challenging. But we know, if you look at our past and on how we have been committing with the roadmap milestones and deliverables, we have been delivering things on time, right? And it is a lot of work, and sometimes we have to work throughout the weekends. People, it's always development of software is normally like this. In the case of the crypto industry, it's even worse because they're also doing research. There are lots of unknowns when we think about how much time something's going to take to be built. We always fail because in the end, we think we design something in one direction. We start to implement, and then say, you know what? There's a much better way to implement this stuff. Let's restart from scratch, and then we start again. This doesn't happen so much in the traditional industry of software.
Yeah, not anymore. But it's such early days, so most of it is still very experimental. So I think a lot of people here are pretty interested in the CTSI token, both the utility and the structure. So how does the CTSI token work as a utility token for the network, and how does it benefit the network and the holders?
Think of CTSI as a crypto fuel, just like people like to say ETH is like petrol, like oil, crypto oil. CTSI is similar in that respect. So for Noether, our sidechain, CTSI will play a role very similar to the role that ETH plays on Ethereum. Validators, they are rewarded in CTSI when they create blocks. Users and applications need to use CTSI to insert data on the sidechain, right? And these block validators also earn, besides the block rewards, they earn these fees from these users and applications. This is one use of CTSI. Another one is that CTSI is going to play also an important role in the validator marketplace. So the marketplace economy is going to run on top of CTSI. We're going to be writing more details about it throughout this year.
Nice.
And we are always looking for interesting ideas to provide more and more utility to CTSI. And we have been thinking about some interesting new use cases, but we have to mature these ideas before we can present to people.
Right. Very cool. And the holders? what is the incentive as a CTSI holder?
Well, it's very similar to the incentive that people that use ETH have to hold ETH, right? People will need to use CTSI to use applications that will run on the Cartesi network, basically.
Got it. Okay. So traditional finance is oftentimes unaffordable, cumbersome, expensive. A lot of people think that banks are becoming more and more obsolete. In this sense, how efficient can Cartesi be as a DeFi platform from a cost and speed point of view? And can you compare Cartesi as a DeFi platform to other DeFi platforms?
So first of all, Cartesi isn't a DeFi platform, right? Cartesi is a layer 2 infrastructure upon which people can develop DeFi and publish DeFi. And we expect that Cartesi is going to be very useful for DeFi, by the way, not only because we're implementing rollups, which is a very desirable feature. You see, platforms like Uniswap migrating to layer 2, like Arbitrum. In the sense that to implement Cartesi, rollups will also allow for people to benefit from this scalability, low fees, low latencies that rollup solutions provide to DeFi. But there is more, right? Because since we provide a Linux environment, we will allow people to much more easily develop much more complex DeFi. Our current DeFi is usually very simplistic. Code needs to be simple to run on Ethereum, right? By the time you have a Linux OS and people can use advanced math libraries, software components, God knows what, then we can start to do more cool features like, for instance, complex option risk calculation, complex insurance protocols, and many other things.
Interesting. So real-life adoption is one of the most important factors that all sustainable blockchain projects should focus on to be more attractive in the eyes of investors. What has Cartesi done, and what does it plan to do to achieve real-world usage and more global adoption?
Yeah. Well, again, our aim is to make things very easy for mainstream developers to onboard blockchain technology and build the apps of the future. And for that, we're providing the tools and the operating system that they are used to working. So that's going to be already a massive convenience for developers to adopt our technology. But of course, this is not enough, right? We have to attack things from many sides. We have to make education very, very efficient. We have to have very good documentation. We have to make the onboarding processes very easy. So we are working with different partners, also, for instance, like IMPA, and also in the near future with other academic institutions to also help doing research and teaching blockchain tech and Cartesi tech in these institutions. This is one thing that we are working on. And also working with partners in the crypto industry itself, just like we have, partnering with blockchain projects like Avalanche, IOTA, Elrond, Injective Protocol, and also with Polygon, which is also another layer 2 protocol, right? So by doing this, we are trying to attack from all possible directions to make this onboarding of people very easy.
Very interesting. So this next question is more of a general question about the general blockchain space. This user is asking, what's your outlook on the future of cryptocurrencies and blockchain? What problems do you see occurring in the blockchain industry nowadays, and how does your project aim to solve these problems?
Mm-hmm. So I think that there is this dream that we are going to create this decentralized layer. We are only at the beginning of all this phenomenon that's very new to everyone. we are dealing with these scalability issues, which is a major hindrance in this space. Also, lots of inconveniences and UX problems. We have to get to a point that blockchain tech is going to be pervasive, like internet. That you're going to have several DFs being developed, that they're going to communicate with each other. It's going to be a rich ecosystem in the future, right? The internet has become ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It has transformed the lives of everyone. And for us to get decentralized applications to this same status, we have to work a lot in the sense of making this technology much better for people to use, to onboard, and to have real usability. And in that sense, we are actually targeting the core of that issue by focusing on a great experience for developers as a whole. We have around 20,000 blockchain developers at the moment, whereas we have more than 20 million mainstream developers. So there is a huge space of developers out there that's not tapped yet. And we have this world, that's based on pretty much on Linux. Linux is everywhere. On your Android phone is a variation of the Linux. Most websites and web services run on Linux. Most developers in the world are used to Linux. So, and all the Airbnbs and Ubers and Googles and everything you use in the world rely on this infrastructure that's based on a real OS like Linux.
Yeah.
We are bringing this feature to blockchain and building this bridge. So we believe that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, very interesting. So what we know is that collaboration in the industry is very crucial in order to survive and dominate in the long term. What kind of collaborations has Cartesi participated in so far?
You mean partnerships?
Yes, partnerships, different collaborations in terms of partnerships.
Yeah, partnerships are very important. Cartesi was created with the intent to be blockchain agnostic. If you go back to our tech paper, to our specification of the technology, it's totally blockchain agnostic. Of course, we had to start from Ethereum, and we believe that Ethereum is the most important blockchain so far that supports smart contracts. And that being said, we have been preparing ourselves to support the most important blockchains, and that involves key partnerships with other players like the ones I mentioned before: Avalanche, IOTA, Elrond, Polygon, etc. And because people will develop for Cartesi applications that run on Cartesi, and if they want to migrate their code, their applications to another blockchain, that should be easy to do. Since you support different blockchains, it should be easy to migrate this application to other blockchains. So having these partnerships with different blockchains is very important. Also, different blockchains will probably be better fits to different industries, and maybe you're gonna have Cartesi applications being built on different blockchains for different industries. We don't know. Time will tell. But the important thing here is that it's good that we are collaborating and integrating with different blockchains. We are also having collaboration with academic institutions, like I said, with IMPA, which is an excellent math institute in Brazil, and also trying to expand and make partnership with other academic institutions. We are also having partnerships with accelerators like DLab, which is an SOSV entity, and also talking to many other players around to have this rich ecosystem that will support developers from A to Z, right? To make not only the technical onboarding easier, but also help them, with funding, with mentorship, everything that we can do to help developers. And for that, we have created Cartesi Labs, which is this,
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So why is Cartesi better than Cardano? And why should we use the layer 2 protocol on Cartesi, not Cardano for smart contracts?
I don't think it would be right to compare Cartesi with Cardano. It's not fair with Cartesi or Cardano. Cardano is a layer 1, is a blockchain. You could compare Cardano with Ethereum, right? But not with Cartesi, because Cartesi is a layer 2 solution. Now, as I was saying before, it is important for Cartesi to collaborate and integrate with the most important blockchains. And eventually it will be important for us to also integrate, let's say, Cartesi Core or rollups or whatever with Cardano, right? And bring the benefits of higher computational scalability and also the convenience of a real operating system for developers, because that's quite unique. That's really the unique value that Cartesi brings to all these blockchains.
Right. Okay, interesting and educational. Now we know. How do you plan to offer unique solutions to rival other layer 2 solutions provided by rivals such as Matic?
Sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
So how do you plan to offer unique solutions to rival other layer 2 solutions?
Well, first of all, sometimes we don't rival, right? Look at our partnership with Polygon. It's a very interesting partnership. We just launched, starting to release our decentralized poker game as a showcase, very interesting showcase of our tech that shows how people can do privacy preserving applications on layer 2 using Cartesi, using advanced cryptographic libraries like Mental Poker. Very cool stuff. We're starting to release this now. We've been partnering with Polygon on this. And why we collaborate with Polygon on this? Because it's just a very nice match. We can use Polygon to send transactions at a fast rate, cheap transactions. And at the same time, these applications can benefit from the computational scalability of Cartesi and also this operating system that we provide. So the poker game that we're releasing is a perfect example of how we can collaborate with other layer 2 protocols. Now, again, if we are to ask what uniquely differentiate us from other layer 2 solutions is what I said. We are the only layer 2 solution that provides a real operating system for the apps.
Okay, this next question is actually about the poker game. So this person says, first of all, hi, and they're saying, since Cartesi's decentralized poker game is being built in collaboration with Polygon, will there also be use of real Matic tokens for buy-ins or payouts? Or will this be a pure demo without the betting component? Either way, they say they're really excited about the project.
We are all very excited about this project. And the initial idea is to release this tech demo. That's what we are focusing on now. First of all, it's a showcase of what is possible to do with Cartesi plus Polygon. And I think this is quite interesting, especially for the gaming industry. Not only for card games like poker, where people have to conceal their hands when they're playing, but also for other kinds of turn-based games. Mm-hmm. We can really decentralize games using Cartesi rollups plus Polygon. And we are very excited about this collaboration. So the initial idea was to only showcase the tech, but we're also preparing some surprises along the way. We want to do more with this poker platform, and we will release more news along the way.
Cool, very cool. So which industry sector is Cartesi planning to target, or would it be a cross-industry application?
It's important to look at the Cartesi just like you look at any blockchain supporting smart contract. You could use Cartesi for any industry you like, right? But of course, we feel that we have to start from somewhere and give a little push in some directions where we feel that adoption could be easier. And for that purpose, we are focusing on games, specifically just like the poker game that you're developing. We feel that can help a lot decentralized blockchain games. And we are also very bullish on IoT, and that also has a relationship with our partnership with IOTA, by the way. Mm-hmm. So let's say we are initially keeping an eye on these two, mainly games and IoT, but as I said before, you can use Cartesi to develop powerful DeFi and whatever you like, just like you would develop on blockchains or second layers.
Right. And this next question is actually also about IOTA. And this is, so with which functions and advantages does Cartesi fit into the IOTA ecosystem?
Yeah, we see that there is a lot of opportunity in this IoT sector. For instance, smart city is going to be huge, right? And we have been collaborating a lot from the beginning. Actually, historically, Cartesi started with a founder of IOTA being our first investor. Sergey Popov was our first investor, and he's a friend. He's friend with Augusto, one of our founders. They are also co-authors of academic papers, and they exchange a lot, right? So there has been a lot of back and forth and collaboration and talk between Cartesi and IOTA throughout times. And now we are starting to really work together and integrate our technology with an eye, especially on IoT.
Very cool. So in terms of future plans, what are the special features from Cartesi that will bring great impact in order to make blockchain or cryptocurrency become well-known all over the world? I think that you've done a good job on touching on a lot of this before, but maybe there's a little bit more that you want to talk about as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe sum it up if there's nothing else to add.
Well, as I said many times here, we are here to make adoption much easier and provide powerful tools for developers. We see, we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with blockchain tech. It's just the beginning. I believe it's just the beginning. We're going to see wonders in this industry, and it's going to disrupt. It's already disrupting many things. And it's going to be a bumpy road, I think. Not going to be smooth. But very interesting, and we are very happy to participate in this industry, to bring great value to it, and to help developers to really create interesting stuff in this ecosystem.
Nice. So from a technological and commercial perspective, how can traditional companies be integrated into the blockchain? And what are your plans for traditional companies that continue to exist with their own systems?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that we think can be interesting to explore is enterprise could use Cartesi stack to create permissioned chains on top of public blockchains. That's something cool that we want to explore. Because we have the ability to preserve privacy as well. Mm-hmm. And as long as you have permission nodes, you can have a kind of permission blockchain running on a public blockchain. And this can be quite interesting for enterprise. For instance, you could have GDPR compliant dApps running on Cartesi, right? And this can be quite interesting. We also see our technology as being profoundly disruptive. So we we think startups will have a lot to benefit from our technology. But blockchain technology is not for everyone, right? Certain applications will always perform better and do a better job running on AWS, and that's fine, right? I don't think we are here to replace everything that exists in the world. I think blockchain tech is here, and what we're building here is gonna allow, of course, to redefine a few things from the past, but I'm more interested in new business models and new things that this technology will enable us to create, right? So when you saw when you see on a cell phone the GPS technology converging with high bandwidth internet and maps, you can create Ubers, right? And so when you combine different technologies, oftentimes you come up with new business models and new ideas. And I think the best ideas for blockchain are yet to be discovered. And I think they're going to be great. And if we go back to the beginning of the internet, how people would have a hard time to figure out an Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. Yeah. The world has changed. So we are just at the beginning of this new wonderful technology, and I think we're going to see amazing stuff ahead.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be, I think, like you said, I think this is probably the most exciting thing about the technology is that, yes, we're in the nascent, very beginning stages of it, but then it's not just about fixing what's broken, it's about also, the creativity of humans and having that unleashed and seeing what new things will be unlocked in the next decade or so. Our final question is, what are your plans for the future, and do you plan to introduce any new products that'll distinguish you from others?
I can assure you guys that our researchers don't stop creating stuff. There is so much creativity, so many things already being planned, designed in the backgrounds that will come to publish in the right time. Essentially, of course, we have a major value proposition to bring to the industry, and we have to deliver this to people and see this thing unfolding in front of our eyes. That's going to be the greatest realization. But at the same time, we're still creating new stuff. We are, of course, an innovation company, and we cannot stop, right? We have to be always one step ahead. And Cartesi is not going to stop here. We are already thinking a few steps ahead.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Erick, thanks so much for your time today. You've been so generous with us. And a huge thank you to our community for showing up tonight. Erick, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers today?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention. Thank you much for your support always. And we are always there on Discord, Telegram to talk to you guys.
Wonderful.
I hope to see you soon again.
Wonderful. Thanks Erick.
Iman.
And thanks again to our audience for joining us today. If your question was asked during the AMA, then you may have won a share of the CTSI prize pool. If so, your prize will be deposited to your app within the next 30 days. You can find Erick on Twitter at Erick de Moura, and you can find Cartesi on Twitter as well. That's at Cartesi Project. To follow Crypto.com and stay informed about upcoming events and updates, keep an eye out on our Twitter, official Telegram channels, and our YouTube channel, where this AMA will remain viewable after today. We'll see you all.